Okay, so this is problem 7.5.31. They give us these fractions right here as points, and they are asking us to find an equation of the line containing the given pair of points. So what we're trying to do here is find an equation, EQN, that's my abbreviation for equation, that contains these 2 points. All right, so if we're finding an equation of a line, and we're starting with 2 points, it's a two-step process. The first step is we're going to need to identify the slope, and so we need to remember our slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then once we've found our slope, we're going to use our point slope formula to plug the slope in and one of the points, and then be able to find the equation of the line using our point slope formula. Okay, so two-step process. We're going to do this first, and then we're going to do that. Okay, all right, so if we go to find slope, and I'm going to go ahead and label these. It doesn't matter how you label them in terms of which ones are the ones and which ones are the twos. You do need to keep them together, so x1 and y1 are going to be in the same ordered pair. So label x1, y1 here, x2, y2 there. Okay, if I plug those into my slope formula, then I'm looking at y2, which is 6, and then I'm subtracting y1, which is a -1/2. Okay, and this is all over x2, which is 3/4, and minus x1, which is 1/4. Okay. All right, so we need to simplify now. We've got 2 minus signs in a row there, so we know that that's a positive. And you can do this a couple of ways. You can just leave it as a mixed fraction if you want. But because we're going to have a fraction here in the bottom, I think I'm going to go ahead and get a common denominator there. So if I multiply this 6 by 2 over 2, then that's going to give me 12 over 2 plus 1 over 2. And in the bottom here, I already have common denominators, so I can go ahead and add the numerators. So 3 minus 1, or I'm really subtracting, I guess. So this becomes 2 over 4. And that'll actually reduce to be a 1/2. I'll do that in the next step. Okay. All right, so in the numerator now I have the common denominator. So if I bring the numerators together and add, that becomes 13 over 2. And the bottom here reduces to be a 1/2. Okay, so now we're looking at a complex fraction, and we need to remember that the way that we're going to deal with a complex fraction is to take the denominator, flip it, and make it a multiplication problem. So this is multiplying by the reciprocal is really what we're doing here. Okay, so we have this 13 over 2 over 1 over 2, and I'm going to go ahead and make this 13 over 2 times 2 over 1. So this really is 13 over 2 divided by 1/2. If I were to write that without, instead of having a fraction bar there, I would write it with a division symbol. Then we know that we would just take this fraction, flip it, and make it a multiplication problem. And then these 2's will cancel, and I'm left with 13. Okay, so my slope here is 13. That was one piece that we needed, the first piece, for us to be able to find the equation of the line. All right, so I'm going to rewrite what we have. We have these points, and now we've found that we have a slope of 13. Okay, so what I'm going to do is you can use either one of these points to go forward with this and use the point slope equation to find the equation of the line. I'm going to go ahead and use this one right here, the second one. And the reason I'm going to use this one is that it only has one fraction in it, so it's probably going to be a little bit easier for us. Okay. All right, so I've labeled this x1, y1, so where there's an x1 and a y1, I'm going to plug in those values. And then the slope is 13, and I'm going to plug that in for the m. Okay, so this becomes y minus, my y1 is 6, my slope is 13, and then I have x minus the x1 is 3/4. Okay, and then again, you can use either of these points as your x1 and your y1s, doesn't matter. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and simplify. They usually want you to leave your answer in slope-intercept form. And so let's take this 13 and distribute. So we have y minus 6 is equal to 13x. And then remember that when you multiply fractions, you multiply straight across. This 13 really has a denominator of 1. So this is going to become minus 39 over 4. Okay, and then now we need to add this 6 and pull it over here. So if I add 6 to both sides, I'm looking at y is equal to 13x minus 39 over 4. And I want to get a common denominator here, so I'm going to go ahead and multiply this 6 by 4 over 4. Okay, so that's going to give me 24 over 4. And I can go ahead and add those now because I have a common denominator. So this becomes 13x, and then minus, so a negative 39 plus 24 is going to be a negative 15 over 4. And that would be it. So that's how we get to the solution on that problem.